Good morning. Happy Memorial Day. Okay, so we always hear Congress tell us, constantly throughout all these investigations and everything, all down to what lunch snacks kid can take into school. Like with Obama, he came in and regulated kids' school lunches to where if you want to send your kid with a candy bar for a snack every day, the school says you can't. Why do we have a Congress who is supposed to be overseeing things to make sure that rights and all that aren't violated, but they're the ones violating our rights? If I want to send my kid with a Snickers bar every day to school, that's my damn choice. I can do that. You can't have the government come in and tell you what you can feed your kid and what you can't feed your kid. Okay? That was like a start of this. Okay? We have a Congress that tells us they're there to watch out for us. They're there to watch over for the bad people. But haven't you noticed they're the only ones that are lying and that are corrupting everyone? They sit here and tell us, the student loan debt is out of control, and they blame it on Republicans, but the Federal Reserve, they have oversight of that too. They have a hand in it, but it's run by private banks, and majority of these private banks have big corporations backing them, and those big corporations like Facebook and other things, they got a lot of power. And when you give private sectors like that much power, you're gonna have a lot of problems. It's kind of like being in a neighborhood with the homeowners association, and they want to fine you if you put a basketball goal up without their permission, but it's on your property. So we've come to a point of time where our own private property isn't our private property anymore. You have all these little organizations and regulations and fees and fines. It's even like, look at your cell phone bills, your home phone bills, your cable. There's all these little taxes, and like it'll be like 99 cents or just a little bit of change. But when you call these places and say, who gets this money? Where does this fund go? Where does this fee go? They can't tell you. So we pay all these regulative fees. And then you look at farmers who have private land, and then Congress has made it to where farmers can't even privately own their lands. Because if they do something like in California, they'll come in and say, oh, well, we need this for wetland reservation preserves, because climate change. So then they put death tax in there. I mean, you see commercials for final expense insurance. What fees and fines, what expenses are we getting now when we die? It's like every time you turn around, there's another fee, there's another fine. Just like with guns, they want to regulate the shit out of that to where you have to get licensing. If you don't do what they say, they can write you a ticket. It's like every aspect of our life that is supposed to be free is being taken over by Congress. And it's identity politics. We're being told how kids should be able to use the bathroom in school, and that we have to allow, open gender bathrooms. But, who's asking the people, like mothers with kids, how we feel about it? It's kind of just like, well, we're Congress, and we're here to help you. Trust us. We got this. But they're a bunch of crooks, they're a bunch of criminals, they're a bunch of liars, and we've been trusting them for so long to where there's a natural disaster, everybody loses everything, and you put your hands in FEMA. How great is FEMA? They're being run by Congress too. Like, who questions these people and their tactics and why they get to infiltrate our lives and tell us what we can and cannot do as private citizens in our own houses, in our own schools, even private schools? We've let Congress get so involved in every aspect of our lives that it's so powerful. And you have to ask yourself, how can a president, of the United States get a possible takedown? Well, it was an attempt of a takedown. And all he's fighting for is to get we the people our sanity back with thinking we can make our own decisions without getting approval. I mean, You have kids, like in Sugarland, this kid is building a bomb in his garage. He went to Clements High School. Okay. Well, how did this kid get the equipment? How did this kid have the resources to be able to get this stuff? And doesn't anybody think that putting, all these shows out that kind of glorify these kids that blow up schools and shoot them up, and people that commit these heinous crimes, they give this like, well, this kid was this and that. Yeah, but there's a lot of kids out there that are very influenced, and when you're making such a public display of something so tragic and you're giving the background story, there's always going to be people out there that are going to be like, you know what, I understand that kid, and they feel hopeless and they feel lost and they feel like they don't have anybody. So to them, it's like planting a seed in their head. Kids are they're young, they're impressionable, and I think it's a dangerous world we live in, where you get all these copycat kids and they blame the gun, which the government wants to take from us, and then they want to regulate it. They want to, basically you can go to jail if you don't give them your gun. Okay, so there's red flag laws, and basically anybody can call the cops and say, I think that person's mentally ill. I don't feel safe with them having a gun. And then the cops can come to your house and take your gun. And then you have to go to court, hire an attorney, get your gun. But at what point did someone say, who gives someone else the right to make a false allegation and you have to prove you're innocent? That's so backwards. There are so many people that have abused CPS that way, where you got grandmothers and other people who get pissed and they'll just call CPS on someone and tell them, look, they're doing this with their kid, just to be vengeful, to be spiteful, So there's always people out there who are opportunists. There's always people out there that will use something that might be in place for good for bad. And it's so rampant and it's so out of control, and it's become a world of you pay to play. If you don't have the money to donate to this foundation or this organization, or if you're not part of that world, it's going to be tougher for you. And it just goes to show, again, in this adversity score that is done privately, that we the people don't get to see, that we're being scored on by the government, a government that's been lying to us for a long time, but we're just so trusting, and we've been feared into not questioning anything. We're just supposed to say, okay, this is what we have to do. This is how it is. And when you have a group of people who have that much control and power, and they hold power at the highest financial levels, you can't always think that those people are going to trust, like you can trust your lives with them. Because if you ask yourself, look around, how great is it really, since Congress has had so much oversight? Oversight. That's all we hear. We're here to protect you, to make sure nobody's doing you wrong. But they are screwing us in so many ways, and they are tearing this country apart. And everybody, attacks the 1%. The 1% is mainly Democrat. I was reading online about the Federal Reserve, and there's this kid that there's people out there that claim that Jews have 2% of the Federal Reserve, and they just print out all the money they want and send it to Israel. Who gave people this idea? Like, where does this crap come from? And why aren't our kids being taught how Congress and government, how constitutional rights, civil rights, how all this really works? Because they're being taught unicorns and rainbows and fairies and sprinkly magic dust that doesn't exist. It's just too much. There's too much ideology behind all this stuff and not enough facts. There's not enough people being real. And when you are real and you say the truth and somebody gets uncomfortable, they attack you, they shut you down. Or, the new world of activism is victim basing, public shaming, calling people out on how you feel as what's right and wrong, but that's your own opinion, that's your own feeling. And just because you feel like that, someone doesn't have to agree with you. I mean, we used to be able to go and debate things, go out, have a debate, but you're still friends. You don't let your personal feelings, get involved. Like, business is business, friendship is friendship. Why can't people separate their feelings from a world of reality? Like, no, this is messed up, people. Let's get it together. Let's agree to disagree. Everybody go their timeout corners, get your shit together, and we'll come back and we'll be adults about it. Because, these people that are in charge, these are not adults. These are out of control, narcissistic children who were spoiled. And, and this everybody got a trophy shit. How did it work for us? I wouldn't let my kids play in a sport where everybody got a trophy, just for that fact. Because there are winners and there are losers. Not everybody wins. There are people who just suck at sports, but they're good at books. And there's people who are good at everything. And if you don't fit in with that, I mean, if you're the bench warmer, you can't cry because that person's more athletically inclined than you and they got a trophy and you didn't. That's what makes you strong. That's what makes you work harder, fight harder, strive for better. We're supposed to have top-notch players because it makes you want to be better. It makes you go for more. We've turned into such a lazy society. It's like, I don't want to work for it. Why can't I just get it? And I know because I am like one of the first generation of millennials, and it's taken me a long time to realize how much I didn't learn through school, or like how to be financial, savvy, how to manage money, like all this kind of stuff, because it's always, well, you can get a loan, or you can get a bailout, or the government. We are so heavily dependent on the government for natural disasters. Now we need insurance through them. We need all this stuff through the government, and we pay them so much money, and nobody understands there isn't a private sector where free money comes from. The money has to come somewhere, and the money comes from the people. And people need to wake up, because, I mean, you have FEMA, who is so heavily funded, and they turn Walmarts into FEMA camps, but nobody will talk about that uncomfortable stuff. Like, why are they making these huge mass graves for people at FEMA camps? Like, they hundreds of thousands of these plastic coffin things that they can just stack up in the ground. How come nobody talks about 5G technology and how it's literally giving us cancer? It's frying our brains. It's the frequencies in it, the radio frequencies they're high. They can kill you, and they are killing people. You got people who get 5 different types of cancer, and nobody questions, well, how in the heck did we get to a time of life where everybody gets cancer? It comes from somewhere, but instead of questioning it, we just go to the government to save us from stuff that they're basically polluting us with. If people don't see this sick cycle and how we're just entrapped in this, like, over authority of government. I mean, now you have political correctness police in New Zealand. If you're a Trump supporter, if you're right wing, they'll come and write you a ticket or tell you to stop and talk to you. In South Africa, the leader calls to kill all white people. They're slaughtering white farmers and taking their land. You have farmers here that can't even do anything on their own land without paying the government or getting permission, and if they don't, the government throws them in prison and takes their land, just like with the death tax and stuff. And nobody really looks into this stuff. Everybody just looks into, okay, well, they have to do it because of this. But how do we know that's what's really going on? Because nobody questions it. Nobody asks questions, and if you ask questions, you get shut down. I thought asking questions was a good thing. I thought somebody who stood up for somebody who they think is getting screwed over from other people's policies, that's what makes our government work. We're supposed to have different people coming together to make an overall good for us without splitting us up and making us fight over it all the time. And I just think too many people are involved in how we live our lives. We don't even have confidence in ourselves anymore. We question everything we do. We ask Google or Siri. We talk to devices in our homes to turn on our lights, turn them off, and do all this because we're just lazy. We're just lazy. We want technology. We want everything quick, easy, fast. But where is that fast life getting us? Like, when you sit down and you think at the end of the day, what does all this stuff really do for me in my soul? Does it make me happy? I don't think so. I think we're more stressed out than ever. People have to work 2 jobs and we're strapped with debt, not because of elite companies, not because of the elite, because now we live in a time of day where everything is material. We want the best cars, the best phones, the best purses, the best clothes. We have celebrity makeup lines, clothing lines, perfume lines. We've become such a materialistic society that we all are broke and we all have to work extra jobs to make extra money because there's not even really any security with 401ks anymore. The amount of stuff we consume at a material level is why people are broke. It's not because of the elites. The elites are just making money off of it. It's capitalism. We're supposed to be able to make money like that. And when you regulate it and fee it and fine it and you break it apart by a Congress that is corrupt, it fucks over the people. The people lose power of everything and they own us. We're their bitches, basically. And that's pretty much what's happening. And it's depressing. And people feel like there's no hope. Like, okay, it's gotten to where we had 2 years of Obama in there, and all he did was tell us what we can and cannot do and what will happen to us. He took student loans from, banks, took them into the Federal Reserve. Congress has oversight of the Federal Reserve, and now they're saying, well, college should be free. Yeah, they're the ones that control it. They're the ones that are strapping everybody with debt. So these people are the reason you have all this crazy student loan debt, but they're going to give it to you for free. Doesn't anybody question free? I mean, I was raised, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And nothing in life is free. When people start offering you all this free stuff, you should stop and think, why are they doing that? Who just gives stuff out? Nobody. Nobody does that unless it benefits them. And Congress has so many, pharmaceutical, social media contributors, backers. And these are all dirty politicians with the pay to play. If you don't contribute to us, we're not going to grant you this. So then you have corporations who are in the background monitoring and controlling everything for their businesses. Those are the people that we need to focus on, not people who have, mom and pop shops, or people who just want a small business who came here for the American dream. The American dream is dying because everybody wants free shit. I mean, yeah, it's nice to be able to turn to the government when you need help, when you actually need it. But living off the government and being dependent on the government is not something to be proud of. It's something that has been embedded in us, like we can't live without their help. Yeah, we can. We can live without the government telling us how to live all of our lives, every day, minute to minute, what we have to accept, what we can't accept, how to think, how to feel, from what's right, what's wrong, because we don't all agree. We're never going to agree. Having debates, having disagreements, not agreeing on things is a good thing, because then you have to compromise. You have to work together to compromise. And that's what Congress is supposed to be about. Going in, and saying, okay, let's make this work for the people, our country, not for our good, not for what we want. It's for everyone. And I think people lost sight of that. I think people get so caught up in their emotions and their viewpoints and their feelings that they forget at the end of the day, we're all human. We all bleed. We all want just to be safe. We all want to be able to provide food and clothing and shelter and go on family vacations and have just a normal, peaceful life without all the chaos, without all the stress, without all the worrying, without all the fear, without all this pressure from social aspects telling us what to fear, what to feel. I mean, I just think it's too much, and I think people need to, pull their head out of their asses and ask yourself, am I happy? Does this make me happy? Am I happy like living like this? And if not, you have a right to say that. You have a right to say, no, I don't agree. I'm going to call you out. We have the right to say that. And don't feel like you don't, because you do. There's nothing wrong with questioning. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. What's wrong with it is when you can't be an adult and agree to disagree have your debate, then go have dinner afterwards. It's just that simple. It's about being mature and knowing when to pick your battles and when to walk away. And attacking everybody isn't doing anybody any good. So on this Memorial Day, maybe that's what people should think. Not about AOC and her stupid shit, but it's what makes you happy at a soul level. Stand up for what's right, not for what you feel like other people are telling you to do. Because at the end of the day, our futures rely on us, not on the government, especially not on Congress. They're bad people. Well, that's my morning thoughts for today. Peace. Bye.